So Bam officially revealed that he was an irregular in front of all of his friends and people that are not his friends on the floor of test. And this really amps up the situation quite a bit because of everything that we know from what an irregular actually means. Since the very beginning of the story, when it's first presented, what an irregular actually means. It's someone that brings great change, someone that kind of changes the system of the tower, changes things for good, and in some cases they could bring chaos, disorder, calamity, etc. So seeing everybody find out about it might come as a shock to others because, like, we already know that Bam is an irregular, but just seeing how everyone reacts to it and some are even kind of disgusted to some point really just goes to show that being irregular isn't necessarily a good thing, because in a way, they're rule breakers. They're not people that were technically chosen by the tower. And kind of, let's get into that. When we look at everything that's been presented so far within the story, all these characters, besides Bam, obviously, has been chosen by the tower in some shape or form. When you look at Serena, which kind of dropped out within this episode, and she's no longer going to be climbing the tower, which is incredibly sad. I love her character, I love everything she stands for, and in a way, she did get the dream and goal that she wanted to obtain from the tower. Even though she didn't climb to the top, she did get what she wanted, which is a good thing. So she did have a proper conclusion to her character, but even then, it is still sad to see her go just after all the character development and characterization she has gotten, and that's kind of the point I want to get in. That kind of relates with Bam being a rule breaker. See, Serena, we know from her brief backstory, is that she was a thief, someone that was like, on a ship trying to steal stuff, and then all of a sudden you have this ranker come in and start slaughtering everyone that she knows, her friends, etc., and she was scared for her life. She was just a witness, she didn't do anything, she didn't try to stand up, and as she was pleading for her life, the tower called her and she was brought in on the first floor to finally move on up. So basically what this meant is that she was saved, and she had to come face to face with her very weakness, what she lacked as a person, and what she needed to grow on. And when she first entered the tower, she felt like she needed power. She felt like she needed something to just be very strong. She needed to be very strong, like physically, to be able to beat down anyone that was in her way. But as her story continued, she realized that's not what she needed. What she needs is the ability to fight for what she wants. Even if she dies necessarily, she needs to be able to stand up and fight for what she believes in, and not just be a witness no longer, not be someone that just watches from the sidelines and doesn't do anything, doesn't bring any change, doesn't do anything at all. She wanted to be something. She wanted to be someone worthy, someone that was actually had a purpose in life, and so she felt that with the outcome of what happened to Ho, but also what happened within the last test, everything, she has now finally found her purpose. So even though she is leaving, she did find her purpose in the tower, and the tower called her for what she wanted, and she did get it in the end, but not in the way she expected. So this completely correlates with Bam. Bam is not someone that technically entered the tower because the tower opened the doors for him. That was not the case. He forcefully opened the door up into the tower just to be able to chase after Rachel. So automatically, he is not following the normal rules of the tower. He broke the main rule. He was not called upon. He went in himself. The normal operations of the tower, how people are brought into the tower, they know what to expect. They know the rules of what a Princess of Zahad is, what, Black March is, Green April is. They know who the king of the tower is, the first person to climb the tower. They know about the tests. They know about the 10 great families. The people that are coming in the towers usually know what to expect. They even know about how the environment of the tower actually is. But Bam is that type of character that isn't. In some cases, we're all irregulars too. We entered the tower forcibly because we were not summoned. We were not, forced to come into the tower. We made our decision to jump into this series and read it ourselves or even watch it. So technically, we're all irregulars. We're not actually individuals that were chosen by Tower of God. We were the ones that decided to take that step forward and push the way open. So it's kind of fascinating, honestly, how that kind of links up with the readers or watchers of the said series. Bam, because of his situation, he doesn't have to follow the rules that have been put in place for the test givers, the admins of each floor. He can just straight up go to the main head honcho, the administrator, and ask for a test. Now, many might think, why would you do this? Why would you go to this monster that's pretty much the main ruler of this floor to ask for a test? Why would you do this? After what was clearly stated that the admin would give a easier test in comparison to the administrator. Well, one of the reasons, which was obviously explained within this episode, is that Rachel was being denied access to pass because of her physical situation. You know, she is paralyzed, she's not able to walk and climb the tower by herself. So because of that situation, she failed. Even though she passed, she technically failed because she could no longer carry on. So basically, Bam had the option to go around the admin and go to the administrator to take a test that would allow him to move up the tower with Rachel. Even though this test would be a lot harder, he's able to go around the restrictions of what the admins would do of each said floor. And from what was stated, basically, is that the administrators, when they give you a test, it's all about the whim. Like, for instance, how they want to go about it. You know, how they are feeling that day. It's their will, etc. Depending on how the administrator views you or how he acts, etc., your test might be easier or harder. It really does not matter. The point is, it's just all up to the administrator what he kind of gives you, the level of test, etc. So you never really know what you're going to get climbing up the tower if you go to them. But only irregulars can confront the administrator, which, like I said, this is the interesting part, is that means, from this brief little information, that the first person to climb the tower, King Zahad, was someone that was also an irregular. I don't know how many people caught that, but that was definitely a big detail, because from everything we know from this episode is that a irregular is the only one that can confront a administrator. But if you're a regular, someone that was chosen, that means that you can only talk to the admin. You're not given that right. So that would mean that King Zahad, the first man to climb the tower, was an irregular, but at the same time, why is it so frowned upon to be an irregular when the king himself was obviously an irregular? So that is a big question mark that you need to think about when it comes to just King Zahad and what he stands for. Is the reason why, you know, irregulars are frowned upon is because it brings disorder and it brings potential, like, the downfall of his kingdom, what he wants within the tower. Is his, you know, rule, his power question when someone else enters the tower? Is Bam actually a threat to his seat on the throne since he climbed the tower? You know, it makes you question these type of things because of how this episode was presented. I don't know how many also realized it, but if Bam is an irregular, most likely Rachel is an irregular as well, since technically she forced her way into the tower just alongside of Bam, because she is from the same place that Bam is, and she also opened that door up. So it's not just Bam, it's also Rachel that is potentially an irregular because of everything that was revealed within this episode, which means that even if Bam was not there, Rachel potentially could also ask for the test from the administrator too, and go completely around the admin. So Rachel, she is paralyzed, and this actually is quite the shock, I think, for many. It was quite a shock for me when I read this in the webtoon for the first time many, many years ago, because, like, you don't expect a character to get paralyzed. Like, if you read a lot of manga, webtoons, watch anime, or even live action stuff, typically when a character gets hurt, they kind of recover. They may be down for commission for a little bit, like maybe like a month or two, maybe a movie, a couple episodes, season, whatever, but usually they recover. And in this case, I think many that saw what happened to Rachel after, you know, what Ho did when he stabbed her, many might think that Rachel was just going to recover. She was going to be injured a little bit, but she was going to recover. But clearly, that is not the case. She is actually paralyzed, and she cannot climb the tower by herself. So this actually leads into quite a situation, because now Rachel is now very dependent on Bam and others to help her climb the tower, and you gotta view it from her perspective of how this feels. Like, she feels like she's a burden to Bam and everyone else helping her climb, because she no longer has the strength to do it herself, but everybody is lifting her up and allowing her to climb and pass these tests, and she doesn't really have to do much because technically she's paralyzed. So you gotta imagine from her perspective how she feels. She feels very worthless, weak, etc. And it kind of makes sense now why she acted like that towards Bam in this episode. She actually acted like a human being. She kind of let her feelings out of how she felt. For instance, like, Bam, it makes sense if you would abandon me right now, because, like, I left you because you were an annoying person. You annoyed me with how you followed me around and all that, like a lost puppy, and, you know, you didn't really want to, you know, do anything. You just want to follow me, and so she decided to abandon Bam and climb the tower to see the sky, see the stars. She even admits that to Bam, which is just big points for her to even admit that to him. You know, she actually said her true feelings, but on top of that, she's like, I abandoned you, so I really wouldn't feel bad if you did the exact same thing to me. If you straight up abandon me right now, leave me here, I would completely understand because, you know, look at the situation I'm in. I no longer could do what I wanted to do, and now I have to rely on you to help me climb. After everything I did, the situations I put you through, now I have to rely on you to help me climb. It's fascinating, honestly. It adds humanity to Rachel's character, and I think many are going to kind of open their eyes up a little bit to Rachel and be like, okay, this makes her more human, a little bit more likable in comparison to how she has been presented in the previous episodes, because she obviously was jealous. This is something that has definitely been shown through her brief little scenes of looking at Bam and how her situation is, but at the same time, she did show honesty to Bam. But there most likely is more stuff behind the scenes that is not being told to Bam, and Rachel's not admitting even to the audience, because, like, we don't really know why she was completely avoiding him like she was. There probably is more reason than we actually know, which potentially will be revealed in due time. But okay, so yeah, with that, Bam has officially found Rachel, and the first goal, the objective of finding her, has been achieved, and now the new goal is to help her climb the tower. So this is still technically in the exact same situation that the story has kind of been in, but a little bit different. Now Bam is going to climb the tower with Rachel and help her climb. So it's not like he really has his own objective still. He's not having his own true goal in mind. He's just helping out Rachel. So that is a thing that people need to consider, is that Bam still has not found his own purpose. Like, his purpose may be helping Rachel, but it's not something he's doing for himself. He's just doing it for Rachel. So he's not necessarily being selfish. He's not doing something for his own self. I want to talk about the behind-the-scenes events that built up a lot of the tension within this episode and makes you question everything that we have seen thus far throughout Tower of God Season 1, and that is the admin, the man that is the coffee drinker, the man with the blonde hair, the man that is able to give out the test, etc., and what regulars would have to go to take their test, and not the administrator. It appears that there is some hidden agenda behind the scenes that he has been doing for a very long time now, since Rachel and Bam first entered this floor. And we gotta think about what his objective actually is, or what his role is within this floor and tower. As it's been stated many times, he is someone that is to figure out who is a danger to the tower and who is not a danger to the tower. So basically, if you'll bring danger, chaos, disorder, calamity to the tower, then obviously you're eliminated on this floor and you shall not be able to pass. So that is the big reason here, is that the whole point of this is that he might be not wanting Bam to move up the tower because Bam is actually an irregular. It's been very clear now that the admin is very perceptive of certain things. Like, he discovered that Kun was carrying a bag with people inside of it, Kun was using mind games, etc. He's been very aware of certain things for a very long time now, and you know how someone like Rachel managed to wind up in the same test as Bam, which shouldn't be possible. People that know each other from outside shouldn't be able to wind up together. You know, there's been a lot of things that have happened that doesn't follow the natural order, and most likely the man is trying to manipulate things to get it to where maybe Bam and Rachel do not climb the tower, which could explain why Kun was, you know, implying that the admin slipped the note to Ho to actually mess with Rachel. Because let's think about this. Why would the admin give a letter to Ho, okay, and cause all of that to happen in the last episode? Why would he feed Ho to allow him to get more jealous, angry, and want to lash out like he did? Well, think about it. Bam. He's an irregular. He was now outed as an irregular. It was completely revealed now that he is an irregular to everyone, so it's no longer he can hide it. And so because of this, this means now that everybody has to confront this face to face. Do they want to help someone to be known as like a criminal, someone that has helped an irregular move up the tower and like risk their very, I guess, image as a person? Or do they want to follow him and regardless of what people think about them? That's the big point here. But Bam, because he's an irregular, he could cause great change and disorder to the system that King Zahad made himself. So it makes you wonder, maybe the reason why the test giver's doing this is because he doesn't want Bam to climb, and Rachel was attacked because if Rachel's out of the picture, Bam has no reason to climb. Think about it. If Rachel's gone, Bam has no objective. He has no reason to move up the tower. And to add on to all of this, apparently the admin is now working with a Royal Enforcement Division unit, number 67, to be able to somehow claim the Black March and Green April and also completely get rid of Anak, which makes perfect sense when you think about Anak's backstory. Technically, she's not supposed to exist. She is someone that was born through, you know, the princesses of Zahad, which, as we know, the princesses of Zahad are not supposed to have children, and we know what happened to Anak's mother, etc. She took on her mother's name and all that. So when you think about it, it makes sense why maybe someone from Zahad's, you know, I guess royal enforcement unit would actually want to go after Anak. And in turn, the reason why Black March is most likely wanting to be grabbed as well is because Endorsi is now technically wanting to work with Anak, so it makes her look just as bad too. So it's not just maybe someone like Bam being targeted, but it's also the princesses that are a part of this floor as well. I love Chibi Rock. I've been waiting to see him actually little small mode for a very long time now, because like it's such a funny moment when he like walks up to the admin. He's like, oh, I couldn't see you down there, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden, you know, he actually kind of makes him small, and he's like, wait, what? And then the dude walks around and is like, oh, I couldn't see you down there, and walks around him to kind of taunt him. It's very funny. I just really love that interaction, and just seeing how the man is like short now, it adds so much comedy relief now, because it's just like he's always been this character that's very strong, very powerful, and seeing him in that short stature, it adds a level of funniness to him, but also it kind of makes it like does he have the same power? Is he weakened now because of his size, or does he retain the same thing that he always was, like strong and all that, and can he ever go back to what he once was, being tall again? I know many are probably going to wonder that too. I think I pretty much covered everything I need to cover that's incredibly important, so yeah, tell me your thoughts. How do you feel about like just everything? How do you feel about how the whole like ceremony was with Ho and how he died as well? Like, what do you think about all those, the cemetery there? Like, I mean, it was massive when you think about it. These are all the fallen ones that, you know, were not able to climb the tower, and it's just like this is like a calling, honestly. It's kind of like, you know, who can or cannot climb the tower past this floor to go on up, and it's just sad to see how many people have kind of lost their lives to be able to achieve their dream. But okay, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. And if you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, I love you guys. Be safe. Chibi out.